Yes, yes, yes. This is another episode of Wake Up African People. This is the Truth Doctor, Akbar Ralston, and to all the goodies that y'all been waiting for. There's been some controversy out there, but the Irritated Genie has proven himself over the years. He has always been straight to the people. And now there's idiots out there like King Noble that want to attack this brother, and his track record in the community has been impeccable. He's been working to matriculate knowledge to the people, and he's always tried. Some people try to hook him up with the national security and all this type of madness. All of us work for the white supremacy if you got a job. We have to eat still, but we can work within. The spook who sat by the door is very, very important. And I look at him as the spook who sat by the door to come back out and bring us information on the beast. Now, me and Sister Aset, my hostess and most trusted Black Power Queen, are here tonight to bring you the Irritated Genie, raw and uncut. Irritated Genie, introduce yourself, brother, and let us hear what you have to say.
All right. Well, this is the Irritated Genie of Soufeese at One Horizon. I want to first thank the host and the co-host for inviting us on your program. We've heard, I just now became familiar with you, but everything I've heard now that we've asked people about it is that you've been doing some great work in the community and that you all are really helping our people get the word out. You allow our people to come to this forum and actually speak their minds and talk about what's happening in the black community worldwide. So we really appreciate you for allowing us to have this type of platform, because without people like you, brother and sister, working together to get this information to our people, there is no ability for us to protect ourselves because we don't even know what's going on. So with that, I'd like to say, my name, they call me the Irritated Genie of Soufeese, with One Horizon organization that started in 2009. Been doing this work since about 1994. But I actually started speaking in 1997, and basically the reason that One Horizon exists is because we made an assessment in around 2008 that we got half of a century to begin the fight, and then the other half of the century to win this fight, at least to the point of being able to survive as a race, or we're going to be exterminated. So we said we don't really have the time to waste a century or half of a century playing games about do we want freedom? Are we looking for self-determination? This is very simple in our assessment. We are facing racial extermination by the whites in particular, the Arabs, and other groups who see it as feasible and reasonable to exploit and help the annihilation of African people in our condition. And because that reality exists, we've decided that the only paradigm we can look in our existence in is through the paradigm of warfare. Similar to what happened to the Native Americans in 1492, if you'd have told two continents that they were going to be exterminated, they would say that's ridiculous. It's too many of us. We're too expansive. We have our own languages. We have our culture. We have militaries. It's impossible for anybody, a small group, to come here and eradicate us. But through disease, trickery, warfare, pedophilia and rape, brutality, alcohol, through various different means, biological warfare, they've been exterminated to a large degree. And for many people, like myself, I can honestly say, to my knowledge, I've never seen a full-blooded Native American. You could have not told them, because they had two continents. As African people, technically, we only got one continent, which is Africa, a continent that we love, but the reality of it is, if they can exterminate two continents of people and turn those people so much and rape and destroy them so much that they've raped them into a new race now called Hispanics, then the same thing can happen to us. And we have to stop being arrogant and believing just because we were first that we have to be last. We are last if we decide to be last and do what it takes to remain here for posterity so that we ensure that we are last. And so what that means is, for us, our racial survival is the most important thing that exists, which means we're no longer calculating our words in the same way we did before. This is a race war. The whites are trying to exterminate us. The Arabs are helping to exterminate us. And we're going to fight back, and our objective is to win and eliminate any threat to the future of African life on this planet. And that's our objective. That's why we exist. And basically what we recognize in the late 90s, but more so even recently in the 2000s. 2005 is when we wrote the book. 2003 was when we really recognized, okay, this homosexual thing is the centerpiece in this war. It's not just that pedophilia and homosexuality, which we call white sex, all this sexual perversion from the Europeans. It's not just their sexual perversion. It's actually a weapon of warfare and mass destruction for African people that they're going to invest time, energy, money, and the fullness of their power infrastructure to try to crack the foundation of our race and destroy us. When we realized that that would be the centerpiece, we began to start making sure that we had plenty of information that was available for our people to see so that our people could then see what we saw. Because it's one thing to see what the problem is. It's another thing to be able to get the next brother or sister to see and feel what the problem is so that they can understand what the problem is so that now you can have some working unity to stop it. So we began to do it and ring the alarm as early as 97. But by 2003, we were doing the book, working on the book. We did the lecture, Feminization of Black Male. By 2008, 2009, I left the organization I was with doing that and said, okay, it's my time now. I have to run the risk and take the chance of really saying exactly the full weight of what I see can happen to our people and what we need to do. And in the beginning, I thought I really honestly, there's nothing in my spirit that told me I would last longer than a year. I really didn't think I would live a year. So I was extreme in sharing the things that our people need to hear because I didn't intend or plan on living. I didn't think I would. But as fate would have it, that was 2009. This is 2014, and I'm not just alive, but I'm living, and people are beginning to see what the problem is, and we're actually gaining movement and momentum now. So essentially what we're doing is, do me a favor, brother, says I'll talk all night. So what you got to do with me is just say, Brother Genie, let me get in there because I'm telling you, I'll talk all night. And I don't have any problem. You cut me off at any time so I can get to anything that you want to ask. So just if at any time you want to, my brother, just cut right in.
My brother, Irritated Genie. I just want to introduce Brother Kamal, the international organizer of the UNIA Incorporated. He is a very knowledgeable brother. He's a very intricate part of Wake Up African People. The brother always gets people for me to come onto the show, and he's a Garvey scholar. He's a Malcolm scholar, and he's a very knowledgeable brother that gives me information and puts me up on things that I don't know about, and I treasure him as a brother, as close as a blood brother to me. And he's on the air right now. Are you on the air, Brother Kamal?
Yes, sir. Great Garvey Day, and yesterday
Great Garvey Day. One God, one aim, one destiny. I never let the devil get the best of me. Now, you know, Sister Aset, I ain't heard her voice yet. Sister Aset, introduce yourself. Are you there, Sister Aset?
Yes, what's up, everyone? Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I am so excited about the show, about having the one and only Irritated Genie. I look forward to the show. I look forward to all the knowledge that he's going to bring us tonight.
Yes. Yes, we are. And Irritated Genie, this is the question I want to ask you before we go too far forward and it slips the memory banks. This guy, King Noble, with his sex cult and, his painted fingernails and all this type of weirdo stuff he got going on, having pictures of sisters on the internet with him having doggy-style sex with them, is a disgrace to me, to the black male. and talking about sisters should be raped, and now I heard that he's boasting on the internet that he's having sex with men. What is it about this guy? I mean, he's going to come out on you and try to label you as some type of agent, and he's doing all the debauchery that he's doing. Could you go ahead and let us know what's up with that? I mean, I know it's really not important to me, but there's other people out there, because I know the coon is the coon.
Yes, sir. Well, actually, this is one that people have been talking to me for a long time and saying this King Noble guy, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I this is going to sound weird because, of course, probably out of everybody in this community now, I'm probably the person that talks about people the most and identifies people and calls them out the most. So it's going to sound a little contrary to the reality. But I don't really like delving with other people. I like to focus on doing this work and pushing things out there. But the reality of it is we got a lot of fakers in the way. We got a lot of phonies that present themselves as representatives of our people, but their agendas are not the well-being of our people and the best interests of our people. A lot of punks, a lot of homosexuals, a lot of pedophiles, a lot of weirdos, a lot of agents. And I don't know the agents per se, but, you know, sometimes they all get mixed in together. So anyway, people have been telling me for years that this King Noble guy is a problem. And to be honest about it, I just did not pay it any attention. I didn't really know who he was. I never really went to look at anything he had to say. And I even had a brother knock on my door. Call me. He was standing outside the door of the brother's house. At that time, I didn't know that this brother was a pedophile. I did not know that all of the damage he was doing in the black community. If he did some weird dude that people talked about, I didn't know anything about him. And the brother said, Genie, you need me to go up in there and handle this. But I didn't know who the guy was, so I was like, nah, don't even, the guy's probably weird. But I didn't understand what was at stake. It wasn't until more recently that somebody sent a video that he had done a year ago up where he was online talking about advocating for the rape of black women and saying that it's the most revolutionary thing that you can do to rape black women, blah, 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 blah. And when I saw that, matter of fact, again, I almost missed out on that because he had two videos up. One talking about it's cool to rape black women. The one that he did right behind that was it's cool to rape black children. But I didn't get it in time. Somebody told me it was up there, and I kind of ignored it again. This King Noble, I don't know who he is. He pulled that one down, the one where he said it was cool to molest children and rape children. So
I ain't even heard of that one. That guy needs to be hung from a tree somewhere. Far as I'm concerned is if he comes anywhere near 10 feet near my children, he's going to get two to the back of the head. Because I have no mercy for child molesters, none whatsoever. I don't believe in no treatment, no nothing for them, but death. Because anytime you hurt the children, you're hurting the aspirations and the future of our people. This is why we are in this work, so our children could go free. If we don't go free, at least we could pass the baton to them, and they can take it forth and go to the mountaintop and really see the valley that we are supposed to inhabit, and that's the whole planet.
And let me say something in reference to what you're saying, because it really hits a nail on the head that I have forgotten. The first time I noticed that the guy had an issue with me, but I didn't understand it at the time. Again, I wasn't paying attention, but Umar Johnson, we had him as a special guest on our program, Brother King Samir, when he was doing his Stop Cooning show. And he actually had a pedophile on the line, this female, and she had molested black children, even some white children, slept with animals and all this. But it was a show that we needed to hear because even myself, having studied this, to actually hear a pedophile talking about what happened to her in her life and then all of the sick things she does and how she got access to children, it was just phenomenal in terms of being opening your eyes and say, I got to watch my children. But while he was interviewing the sister, Brother Umar was his right hand in terms of being a psychological professional, whatever the case may be. And as it would have it, it went from when our callers start calling in, because we have everybody knows One Horizon for a couple of things. One of them is that we believe that it should be the death penalty, capitally punishable to molest a child. The first time should be the last time. And also we're against this homosexuality, 100% against it. It's completely un-African. So we talk about a lot of other things, but those are the things people know us for. So our callers called in and said she needs to go. She's too sick and she can't be helped. And Brother Umar, being a psychologist, was of the opinion that she could be helped, and a lot of other pedophiles could be helped if they got the proper psychological treatment. So we had a little bit of dispute, a little disagreement, or whatever the case may be. It wasn't no big deal. We just disagreed on that. And so...
Yes, well, Dr. Umar is a personal, most trusted friend of mine and a member of the UNIA ACL. He's my brother and my fraternal brother and black brother. All black brothers are my fraternal brother, but he understands Garveyism, and he's working hard in his, profession to heal our people. So he's a healer. So that's what he do. He heals. So he looks at it we look at it as healing, as cleansing the earth with these guys. He looks at it that maybe white supremacy has been so bad on our people, and it's treatable, because look at us, it's treatable. We treated ourselves, or some of the scholars, whoever gave us information, and our minds opened up and our third eye started blinking, and we're freeing ourselves because we understand that it's a problem. But I want to say this before it gets passed. Dr. Umar Johnson is trying to establish a school for our people, for the youth. And he needs donations. He needs money. We need money here in this hells of North America. This is what we call wage slavery, but it was set up. But we still need money. And you can get in contact if you want to make a donation to Dr. Umar Johnson's, building the school up for our children. It's a dream that we should try to make come true because it's for our children, and this is what we're out here for the children, because if we're not out here for the children, who the hell are we out here for? They're the future of our people. So you can contact, email at drumarjohnsonschool.com, and there, if you have PayPal or whatever way you want to pay, you can leave a donation for the school. Let's make this dream come true. Our children need this divine teaching of our ancestors so they can feel like they are somebody instead of listening to this white bullshit that's been taught to us that made us into the Negroes that we are today, and I like to call it nigritude. You know what I'm saying? Or another way I like to call it is niggerdom, because niggers today are dumb. Nigger dumb. Okay? Sorry, Irritated Genie, but go ahead. I had to get that out.
Sure, absolutely. So, like I said, it was just a disagreement online. It wasn't no big deal. People disagree all the time. So weeks later, we noticed that somebody sent us a thing and said, what is King Noble doing? Again, I didn't know who the guy was. But he labeled it Dr. Umar Johnson smashes Irritated Genie. Now, Brother Umar had done this to me. He had nothing to do with that. But I didn't understand at the time why King Noble would have gone through the problem of trying to find the interview, downloading it, cutting it up, and why he was presenting it that way. Well, it wasn't until recently when we found out, after we exposed this video that he put out there to people who were in that house start calling us, multiple ones, not just one, and telling us these are the kinds of things that happen. He molests children, he has sex with an adult, and then we have sex with a woman and a child in the bed, or he will somebody else's children. He does this type of stuff. He's grooming his own children, sex with guys. They just started telling us all of the stuff that was going on. Some of the guys were talking about how he got them. He basically got into their minds because they didn't have nothing. And next thing you know, they was involved all kind of stuff with them. So once we found that out, then somebody, brought it to our attention and it made perfect sense. Now we understood why he took that position. Everybody else just looked at it as a good dialogue where people had a difference of opinion based on the perspective they were coming from. But he's a pedophile. So for him, it was an argument saying that you should not harm pedophiles, because he wanted to defend what he was involved in. And so it was a very important lesson for me because, we know that we out here fighting these homosexuals and we trying to fight the pedophiles too, but we forget how close the pedophiles are to us. So these individuals that are molesting children, and a lot of times involved in this homosexuality too, they're not just these creepy people, even though this guy's a creep, but my point is, sometimes they're a good friend of ours. Sometimes it's our cousin. Sometimes it's our brother. They're around us, and we got, I learned this lesson. I learned it recently. I start tuning in more. When I make a statement about how wrong pedophilia is, I pay very close attention now, more than I did before, how the person I'm talking to responds. Because if the guy don't have nothing to say, that's a reason for me to have caution. Doesn't mean that he's a pedophile, but I'm just saying my ears are open a little more now because I never realized that pedophiles would actually make an argument on behalf of what they're doing, because it seemed like it would be too dangerous because of the way people would respond. But because as a community, we don't have enough strength and manhood in the community now to resist or to deal with this stuff instead of just talk about it. It's not just the homosexuals that are coming out now. Now the pedophiles are coming out with the argument that this is okay and you shouldn't be upset with a pedophile and whatever the case may be. So now we're starting to see that this thing is getting to the point where none of our children are safe, and we've got to really begin the process of pushing this thing in the opposite direction.
Well, Irritated G, it's like this. I told people, I think it was Proposition 8, the homosexual bill. Black people in general rejected that bill. Homosexuals were mad at black people, and that's when they started equating homosexuality with the civil rights movement, saying that blacks should, they got for their freedoms and everything. So that's the point where they started equating the civil, even though I think the civil rights movement was a sham, but it's still, to me, sacrilege to even equate homosexuality with people wanting to be free to move around and do what they want to do and be protected and have the same aspirations that any other human being in this country is permitted to have. But this boy love thing goes back so far, it never really stopped, with the white man. I mean, the altar boys, the Catholic Church, the Pope, not and
that fraternity saying they spank one another. They thank you, brother. Can I have another? And all that kind of gay crap. That whole cultural orientation, or anti-culture, I should say, orientation is based off of that sort of perverted crap. That's why they're not populating in a lot of places around the globe. But what I wanted to say, though, if I can, Truth Doctor, quickly, was in reference to the conversation, because I heard the
introduce yourself again so people know who's speaking, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This brother Maury Kamal, international organizer for the UNIA, founded by the Right Action Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And I wanted to speak in reference to the dialogue with Dr. Umar. I know Dr. Umar, fundamentally, someone does certain things to children. Pedophilia is a broad definition. Any of it is bad. But I think when Dr. Umar deals with cases from a clinical perspective, sometimes there are certain types of people who were maybe harmed as a kid and they used to like to smell their sister's hair. So when they see a little girl, they want to smell her hair. They don't want to do anything sexual, but they want to do certain things. Or it's like different levels of that pedophilia. So when he deals with a client and they have issues and he traces the source and try to cure them and teach them certain things, he may be thinking, when you say pedophilia, you may be thinking a man actually raping, a little child, and not can and will do it again and all that, versus what he may be seeing and realizing. In some cases, he thinks that there is some room to correct or improve or whatever. Some cases, the cases we may be thinking about, do away with them. I mean, ain't no more redemption for them. That's it. But I think in some cases he may be thinking of different matters. So, I mean, just to, be fair, because he's not here, I would say that there are some possible cases with charge of what is called pedophilia that there may be some room to correct people, and there may be some cases where there's no other room, but, you judge them and sentence them, and sentence should be death. So, I mean, I can relate to both perspectives depending on how you define every act of pedophilia, but that's about all I wanted to say.
Yeah, well, I just got off the phone with Dr. Umar about half an hour ago, and I had asked him because I wanted to be clear on what it was, and he said it wasn't really anything, just a little small difference of opinion, that's all. And, pedophilia, like you said, Michael Jackson was seen as a pedophile, and in a way he was a pedophile. Not that he may have had sex with the kids, but he liked to be around children. And, I mean, that is a level of pedophilia, too. Just wanting to be and put yourself around children, an adult wanting to be around children. So this is why it was so easy for them to try to build a pedophilia case because of his wanting to be like a child and be with children, because really no grown man should have and want to, and it's not bashing Mike, because I know that he went through a lot of traumatization throughout his life. They claim it was his father, but I say it was more the record industry that traumatized him. And Mike, you know, I mean, he was really scared of adults because what adults have done to him from a child, you know, his experience with his dad being hard on them, which I don't think Joe Jackson did anything wrong, because like my dad raised us up that said that a black man had to be twice as better than a white man to even get a chance in this country. You know, so, you know, I always lived off that principle to try to be twice as better than any white man, and I really don't use them as a measuring stick, but that's what all my dad had to go off of because he's from the old school. But today I know that the white man is not even a measuring stick to measure yourself for anything, because they're negative. You know, they're on the negative vibes and the negative vibrations. And we are people that's naturally positive because we are the original people of this planet, and we are cosmic people, and we are just off cosmic line right now. But things are coming back. This information is out here. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, I didn't have nobody I could talk to. I mean, it was like, man, I knew all this information and stuff. I've been reading from the age of from the 6th grade. That's the first time I read the Miseducation of the Negro, not Miseducation of the Negro, the Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. I was in the 6th grade. So, you know, this information, you couldn't even talk to nobody about it, your family members, nobody. But now, look at us now, all on the radio, on Facebook, and all other type of things. And Dr. Clark and them, I know they got to be rejoicing, Dr. Clark, in the realm of their ancestors. All this stuff, all him, John Jackson, Ivan Van Sertima, you know, all these brothers that went before us and pioneered the way for us to have this knowledge that we have today to matriculate to the people. So I want to come back to Irritated Genie, but I want Sister Aset to be able to ask the questions that she wants, because we ain't let the Queen speak yet. Go ahead, Queen.
Excuse my voice tonight. I don't know what's going on. Irritated Genie, I wanted to ask you about a couple of things. I wanted to touch on the subject of integration, and a lot of people, I wanted you to talk about integration. How long have we been integrating with these people, and how do you think it has truly affected us?
Okay. Let me take that one, and then I'll come right back and let you ask your next question. First of all, let me say that's one of the best questions. It's a loaded question. It's one of the best questions I've heard in a long time, and it's very relevant. For brothers and sisters out there who get an opportunity, you can go to waronthehorizon.com and go to our store. We have a video called Death by Lethal Integration, and that's a video that details the history of what we call integration. Now, I look at it from a different paradigm than most people. When most people hear the word integration, they think of the 50s when we shut down our own communities economically and began when the U.S. said, okay, we can integrate, it's legal now, we can go use their stores. We abandoned our own institutions and went to go use theirs. I look at integration in a broader perspective. I go back to, we call it the Black Bible, Chancellor Williams' Destruction of Black Civilization. And when you read this book, he talks about all of these mighty African civilizations. There's one theme for all of them being destroyed: integration. Meaning, in one way or the other, we let the whites in, or they came in. And the whites were the source of, once we integrated with them, once there were whites amongst us, they destroyed our civilizations. So, there are a multitude of ways they do it, but this is the general way they come in. Generally speaking, in order to know what they're dealing with, they don't come with their military first. They come with some form of a smile to attach themselves to the group, to learn the logistics of your community or your nation or your organization. They get in. which means some black person who does not have the presence of mind to recognize this white-skinned being as their enemy and wants to find some kind of clever reason why this European is better than all the other Europeans in the world and that this one's okay because this one is cool with them. This same naive trick that the Europeans have been using for thousands of years, they still use today. They come in and make friends with some black folks who don't have the presence of mind to know that they're dealing with enemies. Those black people introduce these whites around as friends. Those whites circumvent and learn to navigate the resource. Who are the strongest people? Who are those that don't like us? Who is it that has the money? Which group don't like each other? Where is their potential to create rift? What kind of weaponry do they have? What drives their economy? They find out all the information. They share it with other whites, and they start inviting more and more whites. Then they start marrying in or getting into the power structure and playing to the egos of the black males and marrying them off to white females, or the black women and marrying them off to white males. And once they feel as though they have enough power to do it, then they seize and take everything for themselves. And this happened over and over in ancient history, always leading to them brothers from Central Africa or the east, the southeast region of Africa, coming up the Nile, or down the Nile, depending on how you look at it, and going north, what we call north today, into Egypt and those areas, and putting them out militarily, saying we're sick and tired of you letting them in because now they're starting to come and encroach upon our region. And we would see that they had taken over. Brothers would organize, go up there, get their weapons out, and put them out by force. In the modern context, when you look at the term integration, it means white folks, black folks, close proximity, living in close proximity. Where do we have the first major integration in modern times? It was called the Atlantic slave trade, or the Mayafa, where the Europeans systematically went through the African continent, pillaged and destroyed, kidnapped our people, brought us over here, and we experienced the worst tragedy in the history of known time that's been documented history. The second major period of integration, again, where you start off with black people doing things on their own, whites are on their own in a different place, and then the whites and black people are forced together, was called colonialism, where the European nations of 1884 and 1885 under Bismarck, Chancellor of Germany, came together and said, we're going to collectively go into the continent of Africa. This time we're not going to steal the people. We're going to steal the resources by rape, murder, torture, and brutality, and enslavement of the people on their own land, similar to what they did to Native Americans here, except that they didn't move in fully to colonize. That's what they're doing now, but that's not what they did then. And so, again, they came in with their religion first, and their religious peoples are sharing their religion. We are abandoning our own belief systems, adopting this love for their religion, which tells us to turn our cheeks when they brutalize us. We teach that to our children. Once they've gotten us nice and soft and ready to be abused, they come in with their military, seize, they make friends with the leadership who sells us out, and they begin to integrate with us, which means really for us it means enslavement. So then even in America, when we look at the term integration, in the period we call integration, we had black people on one side of town, we had our own barbers, we had our own grocery stores, we had our own nurseries, we had our own schools, we had almost everything of our own. We were pretty much, in many cases, self-sufficient, and when we weren't self-sufficient, we were far more self-sufficient then than we are now. And what happened again? A few, not most of us, there was a freedom struggle, and then there was the integration civil rights struggle. The civil rights were race traders who wanted to tear us down. The freedom struggle were the sincere people who wanted us as black people to have fairness, fair treatment in the society. But we got overthrown, this committed sincere people, by the civil rights folks who really wanted to lay down with white folks. That's what it all boiled down to. They want to be accepted by whites. They want to lay down with white females. The females want to lay down with white males. They want to be white or be accepted by whites. And it didn't matter how many of our own stores we would lose, how many of our own communities, how much of our own control of our own destiny we would lose. Anything to be with whites and next to whites, they will be willing to do. And so that period of integration in the 50s and 60s led to almost a complete disestablishment of black economic self-sufficiency in this country. Today, when we look at this thing, sensitive integration, right now they have a complete system of genocide to destroy our people. We talked about the central piece in it, being the promotion of white sex, which prevents the birth of children, and it corrupts the adults so that they violate children, and you have complete sexual dysfunction and family dysfunction, rape, pedophilia, torture, sexual torture, and psychological torture of our race, so that we can do nothing and move out of our condition. But then there's another piece that's extremely damaging as well. Since they know that they have created an environment where the black males are brutalizing black women and destroying them psychologically through sexual abuse and brutality, then they give the alternative, which is also genocidal. Instead of, since black men are so vicious towards you, why don't you come and marry yourself a white male? With the true agenda of that being that now black women are giving away their seed, and now that we're beginning to commit genocide by marrying outside of our race and producing mulattoes and not African children. And so if you turn on TV, you see shows like Scandal, you see every newspaper article, every television show, everything you see out here now is promoting black women running to white males. Is all genocidal. So integration, another word for integration for black people, is either slavery, colonialism, or genocide. All of those words are synonymous with integration for black people.
I was just going to ask you, how you felt about, that was my next question, how you felt about the biracial unions and what they produce. And do you see I was going to ask you, what would be the long-term effects that you see coming from those unions?
Excellent question. I'm going to use history as a basis. This is something that Dr. John Henry Clark used to really stress, and so did Chancellor Williams. The way Chancellor Williams said that historically, this is based pure on history, he said that the mulatto, which is the mixed union between white and black, has been the greatest agent in assisting in the destruction of black civilization, meaning the whites want to destroy us, and their best assistant has been the mulatto. And that's a factual, historical statement that Dr. Clark and peace be upon him, and Dr. Chancellor Williams, peace be upon him, have always made very clear to us that the mulatto traditionally is an agent for white supremacy and a lethal agent for white supremacy. But now, from my perspective, looking at it, and I agree with that, of course. The reason that the mulatto is such a dangerous individual within the context of black self-sufficiency and independence and this war between white interests and black survival is because when black people go and lay down with a European, we lay down with a very naive, Negro, happy-go-lucky, self-hating, I love everybody, I wish I could be white, everything is okay now mentality. We just don't want our child to be black so that they won't go through the teasing and all the things that we went through when we were young. They think that white is better and superior, and since whites put pressure on black people to basically survive, they don't want their child to go through that pressure, so they don't even want a black child. The whites are very different. When a white lays down with a black person, they're thinking, I'm going to take some of that melanin and I'm going to produce a child that I can use to pretend to be a friend to black people, but I'm going to raise this child to be loyal to white interests, so that if the blacks ever decide they want to attack us, they're going to have a whole class in the middle, a buffer to protect us against them. So historically, they've done it. If you look at Rome, they had Lucius Septimius Severus, who was the first mulatto, half black, half white emperor of Rome. And the Africans in North Africa didn't realize that the Romans were about to come and have the most vicious violence that North Africa had ever seen. But they didn't want to do it with a white face because they knew they would get a lot of resistance. So what did they do? They put in a mulatto, and then our people laid down their defenses, and then he went through and slaughtered black people like nobody before, which is the same thing we see now. If you want to know what the consequences of mulattoes are, look at this president. Here's a president that looks black on the surface, got a white mother, he's a mulatto, has no consideration or interest for black well-being. The only thing he's done since he's gotten in office is wage war on the African continent, helping the extermination of the black Libyans in Libya. He's promoting homosexuality in the black community in America, and literally praising every black male that comes out who's an athlete, getting him a phone call and making a public spectacle of the fact that he's so happy that they're a sodomite, and using political, economic, and social pressure to pressure the African nations that if they don't accept homosexuality, which is going to be used as a tool for genocide of our people, if they don't accept it, then they're going to face sanctions, and they're doing it now, facing sanctions, facing economic gangsterism, and ultimately facing military invasion and warfare through whether it's CIA or whether it's just direct invasions under the guise of they're not practicing humanitarian freedom rights or whatever the case may be. Literally, it's warfare that they want us to commit suicide, which is which would be homosexual genocide from the white perspective, but it would be us killing ourselves as opposed to them sending bombs, because they send bombs and they know at some point we're going to start sending bombs back, or at least fight back. They don't want us to have a fight back, and so their interest is the homosexuality. So the mulatto is used. If this was Bush doing this, our people would be outraged and we would be fighting. But because they have a mulatto in there who's loyal to them but looks something like us, we become confused, and this has been a tool that they've used for thousands of years, and that's why they have a whole mulatto class. You turn on the TV and look at the news as news. You see mulattoes. You look at the politicians getting elected, they're mulattoes. You look at every black person, not every, but most of the black people being put in positions of power and authority over what's going on in the black community. A substantial number of them are mulattoes, which means when you see that, that means that we're about to face a vicious assault, and they want a buffer system in case we strike back and are more effective than they think we will be.
Brother Irritated Genie, sister, I said I want to ask them this about that question before we go to another question. Well, the mulattoes have let us know with the biracial movement that they don't want to be part of us. I don't know why our people still keep holding on to these mulattoes. And Barack Obama is not a black man. Only a black woman can give birth to a black man. He's a hybrid. He's something else. He's a hybrid. He's the Manchurian candidate that they showed us on TV in the movies about 10 years ago. But we thought he was going to be a white man, but he was a black white man. You know, and the biggest white supremacists in this country are Negroes. These Negro white supremacists, we did a show just on that called Black White Supremacists. And I tell everybody to go to that show. It's doing very well. We have over 300 downloads on it already. Go back to that show and listen to the information that we gave on the black white supremacists. And we named quite a few of the top black white supremacists that helped the white man wholeheartedly to keep the foot on our neck and to suffocate us with more and more white supremacy. The enemy is white supremacy, and any white person that embraces white supremacy, and that's almost 99.9% of them, as far as the Truth Doctor is concerned. So as I said, you have another question, and then we want to go to Brother Kamal while we got him.
Actually, no, I'm through with questioning. So Brother Kamal can go ahead.
Brother Kamal, do you have questions? I know you have questions for the most honorable guest, the Irritated Genie. Are you still with us, Brother Kamal?
I'm sorry, I don't know what.
I don't know. I think Brother Kamal well, we have a whole lot of callers in queue. Start letting some of the callers in too, if they have anything to contribute to the Irritated Genie's bank of knowledge.
Okay, let's go to caller with area code 909-292. You are on the air.
Black Power, BB48.
Black Power to you, brother.
How you doing, family? This is Brother Mankaroff from Feet on the Ground. I just wanted to ask the brother Irritated Genie if he could give a historical context to the mulatto in reference to Dr. Clark's contextualizing the role of the bastard as a factor in history, and how the bastardized children, or how Europeans play sex politics and use the mulatto politically And history, according to Dr. Clark, history shows that the mulatto bastard will always side with the father who's in power.
And excellent question. And I'll say I don't disagree with them siding with the father, but actually, in my research, it's a real bizarre thing, but it works like this. Again, because black people, and this is historical, it's not just black people in America, I mean just historically, we have this kind of universal idea that everybody thinks the same. We have never, as a whole entire race of people for an extended amount of time, gotten mature enough to recognize that the white race thinks and behaves differently than we do. And we have never respected that enough to study their behavior and thoughts and give it its own reality, as opposed to seeing them as just black people with white skin. And the naivety of that is that, any dog that looks at a cat, or a cat, better yet, that looks at a dog, is just a real big cat, is making a big problem, because that dog is going to kill them because they hate cats. There are enemy groups there. And so what happens is, in the naivety of the African mind, while we're just thinking that it's just an interracial relationship, not realizing it has a political reality for devastation for our people, it doesn't matter, or at least it has, like, for instance, in ancient Kemet, the fathers were black, taking the white daughters, yet the mulattoes sided with their mothers. In Haiti, the fathers were white, and the mulattoes sided with their white fathers. So whenever they create situations of, a good example, Barack Obama, his mother is white, but he sided with his white mother. So he didn't side with his black father. It's been a traditional thing, but this is the only thing that makes it complex. It's pretty simple. If you look at Haiti, the black people in Haiti would have won that war so much sooner. Matter of fact, the war would have been won probably by the end of 1791 when it started proper, in terms of Boukman Duddy's calling for the war in August 22nd, 1791. Probably won that same year if they didn't have to contend with the treasonous mulatto class who wanted to keep black people enslaved but didn't want to be enslaved themselves. So they wanted a middle place. Okay, we know that whites are going to be superior, but we want to have some equality there with us enslaving black people, where the whites were like, no, we're going to enslave black people and you mulattoes. So then the mulattoes finally sided with black people just long enough for us to beat the whites, and then the mulattoes turned on us and killed our generals and then destroyed Haiti and helped it get in the condition that it's in today. So I'm saying that to say, traditionally, it works like this. As a group, I'm not talking about individuals, because there are mulattoes who've been, quite frankly, just being 100% honest, there are mulattoes who've been more loyal to the black race than most black people. But those are like individuals that you can't predict. You don't have to look for them. They'll make themselves known, because there's nothing you can say to prevent them from being loyal, because it's just what's in them. They're so few and far between, it doesn't even make sense to look at them, to try to find them. They'll just make themselves known. However, as a class, as a group, they have traditionally, throughout the history of the world, always sided with the whites. Have there been small individual groups, maybe, where a couple of, a small little group, yeah, but as a class, like if you look in America, and if there's 1 million mulattoes in this country, you can guarantee yourself that 950,000 of them are going to side with whites in any conflict against black and white. And that other 50,000 of them, you don't have to look for them. Those will make themselves known. They'll fight in the gap. They'll marry black. They'll be black, and you can't tell them that they're not black, and they don't like their white mama or their white father, and they just separate themselves from the rest. But you can't find them. They'll make themselves known. This is a major problem, because whenever we see the mulatto class being increased intentionally, like with all of the stuff we see on TV promoting this mulattoism, whenever you see that, that means within 10, 15, 20 years, a huge, phenomenal, major assault on the survival of our race is about to occur. It's the prelude to physical genocide where they try to wipe us out. And it's been like that throughout history.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think you answered that question very, very, very sophisticated. It had me mesmerized, Irritated Genie. Now, we have more callers. We have a lot of callers, so thank you, caller, for coming in and answering that question. I hope that Irritated Genie laid it down for you. Let the next caller in, my sister.
Okay. Call with area code 901-289. You are on the air.
The baby for the air.
The baby for the air.
Hey, Brother Genie, I wanted to hook up to you all. I wanted to ask you a question in regards to how to raise a child in today's society, you know, within the European madness that's going on. How do you raise a child to be comfortable with being African within this insanity?
And let me ask you, are you the brother that I owe a phone call? Because my folks keep telling me somebody asked this question, and I haven't been able to get back to them. Do I owe you a phone? Did you send an email about that?
No, that's not me.
Okay. Well, I do owe a brother a phone call. And if you're listening, brother, I apologize. We've just been really busy. But I'm going to try to answer your question, and his question was very similar. My first question to you would be, it's clear that you're calling this program. You're conscious, and you're African and wants to do something about our condition. Is your partner, is she conscious as well, and is she on board? Are y'all working together with this?
No, not totally, no. Like, I'm divorced, so their mother is not, like, totally in line with my beliefs. You know, she believes some of them, but she's not actively, you know, trying to make these type of things happen as far as Africanizing the children's minds.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Do they live with her or do they live with you?
I would say mainly with her most of the time.
How frequently?
I get them.
Go ahead.
I say like half the week. We split the week in half. Maybe I get them 3 days. She get 4 days, something like that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so you got 3 days out of the week. This is what I'll say. And let me ask you one last thing. What region of the country are you living in?
Tennessee, Memphis.
Okay, you're in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, that's a good thing, because I can tell you some folks down there you want to hook up with. Okay.
Right.
Here's what I would say. You got some things going for you. You got some things not. The fact that you're not living with the mother, and y'all are not both on page with the same thing makes it a little more difficult, because now you're not just fighting the world around them, not just fighting the students around them, their friends, and everything in the world, but you're also fighting the mother in some regard in that regard. So you got a lot of fights in your hand. This is what I would say. First thing is you have to make sure that you find where your children have interest in the things that you're talking about, which things they like, and use the things that they like as a benefit as opposed to a punishment. What I mean by that is some people use Pan-Africanism as a punishment. Oh, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, so now you got to watch this video. Sometimes that can work if it's every now and then, and they like the stuff. But what happens is once a child learns that they have to do this because they messed up, they begin to resent that, and they'll turn even further away from it. So I would say you want to capture that child's mind with whichever element of Pan-Africanism will capture them and give them a lot of that, then pull them towards other stuff. So, for instance, let's say they love to read. Then you get them some of Angela Freeman's books. If they don't like those, then you get some of Rouge's books. If they don't like those, you get Warren Rising. You find them some books that they actually like, and then do things that they like to do as it relates to Pan-Africanism they have fun with. You want them to have fun with this, because when they're having fun with it, they'll gravitate to it more. If it's TV, they love TV. Then you get them to fight in the Poltergeist series from Warren Horizon, because they'll learn how to watch TV, and then they're not going to stop watching it, but then they can point out stuff to each other. And we've had this almost invariable. Every parent that's given this to their child has said it's decreased their child's television consumption, because their children watch the DVD, they understand it, and they start identifying stuff. And before long, they identify stuff so much they can't turn it off. And everything is so bad, they don't want the constant negative stuff coming in, but they can see it's negative, and they start doing other things. So, but they enjoy the video because it's about something they like, TV. If they like music, that's why we created African Insurrection music. We said we need something without profanity, without the N-word, but they're still revolutionary. So if they like hip-hop, give them some of that United Front. If they like music in general, you get some of that stuff. If they like women, if it's a sister, you got a daughter, and she likes female things, let her listen to the Queen Jasira, and then talk to them about the stuff. When you riding in the car, taking them places, put on some of that African insurrection music, the stuff that they like. You get them with the stuff they like, and then you teach them more about the things you want them to know. And you understand that you don't have to, the best approach is not to just overwhelm them with stuff, in my opinion, what I found. The best approach is to find a thing that they like, give them that, and give them as much as they want, then give them more and pull them into more and more stuff. So like you're in Memphis. Brothers Keeper is in Memphis. They do performances every other Sunday. They feed the homeless. When I came down there, I had the best time of my life, man. Not the best time of my life, but it was a wonderful time. They literally, it just, out of nowhere, I think it's at 2 o'clock or something on Sunday. I can't remember, but we can get you in touch with them. But the minute it starts, first it's empty. Then all of a sudden, 5 minutes before, it's like 200 people out there. And they bring food that they prepared, and brothers and sisters, they stand in line, and they feed the brothers and sisters in the community. Take your children to something like that. They would love doing it and going there because I can't explain why, but it just feels good to help your own people, and they actually turn other folks away. So it is a beautiful thing. Start doing those type of things with your children and teaching them stuff, listening to the War on the Horizon. If they like it, if they like the video, show them more of them. If they don't gravitate to that, find what they do like, the radio station, things of that nature. Get them involved so they're doing stuff on their own, and that they're doing stuff that they like that has to do with Pan-Africanism, and then constantly do what I'm sure you're doing anyway, talking to them about their day, and hit them with the stuff in a way that they don't know they're getting hit with it. In other words, instead of always just telling them stuff, and I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying a good approach is talk to them about what's going on at school, and then ask them questions that make them give the answers that they've already learned with stuff that you've given them. So they don't even realize that you're teaching them by getting them to think and talk. So, for instance, with the homosexual thing, ask them, how many of your people in your class, your friends you think are involved in that? And then let them start talking and say, what do you think is causing that? Well, they've already watched some of the stuff, depending on how old they are, and they know, well, maybe they've been sexually abused. Well, do you think so? What's going to happen is you don't have to tell them to go ask. They'll ask them when they look. Let me ask you something. Anything ever happened to you? They'll say, yeah, something did. Like, hey. And they'll be like, Dad, remember you said that people that's doing this, something happened to them? I talked to my friend today, or the dude this class. I just asked him. He said, yeah, he was molested. So, Dad, I see you right. It's real. That is one of the best ways, in an organic way that's not pressing them to do it. It slowly and consistently give them this message and get them to tell you that what they're doing or what they're seeing is wrong, as opposed to you always telling them. Those would be some of the simple things I think that I would say. Find the information between War on the Horizon, CoburnHouse.com, which is Brother Baruti, Timid New, Know Thyself, between African insurrection music, and Sister Angela Freeman and all her books and everything like that. I think there's a wealth of information, music, and things of that nature that can captivate a young person's mind and help you in the process of raising strong Africans.
Okay, I got you. And by the way, I have been doing that with Brothers Keeping Them for the past 8 months, and I've been taking my kids out there with me. So yeah, I've been on that United Front as well. I let them listen to that in the car, and they like some of the songs off that the Manhood Rap CD. So yeah, some of those things I have been doing already, but I appreciate that though.
Well, let me just ask you real quick because I want to know. Have you seen a benefit? And if you haven't, just say no. But I mean, have you seen any benefits of that with them?
Oh yeah, definitely. I like you said with the feeding the homeless thing, like they be anticipating it and questioning me, like when are we going to feed the homeless? With the Black Manhood Rap, they pick certain songs that they like and be like, play that again, and they might have questions for me and ask me, hey, why do white people do this or why do they do that? And you know what I mean? It brings about discussion and all that. The reason for my question is that they go to, a predominantly white school in, suburban part of Memphis. So, I just want to make sure I'm doing all I can to kind of combat the madness, especially, seeing that it's getting worse, day by day with this homosexuality and all that stuff being promoted.
and let me just say this last week because you added another dynamic. One of the reasons I am who I am today is because I had a strong foundation in black schools in D.C., but 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, I was around small hats in a private school, and it was a boarding school, so I wasn't there by myself, but I was there without any family or anything. And they're so racist, but since I had a foundation in knowing racism exists, and I was successful in fighting through it, it made me stronger. So I would say this, since they have you in the house, hopefully they won't get lost in that, but use that as a benefit, because those white folks, if your children are able to see, which I'm sure you're working for them to do, they'll start to see the racism, particularly the older they get, which is not a bad thing, because then they want to fight it, and then they start feeling the pain of it, and then they start taking it on as a mantle. So it's not entirely bad. Of course, at a young age, you don't want them there, but if they're there, then deal with that reality and help them see what's happening, so that once they see it, then they enlist themselves in it. You don't have to enlist them. They'll enlist themselves in the struggle for our people, because they'll see what they're dealing with in racism, and in their own ways they'll fight it in their schools and say what they think is wrong to the teachers, and they'll have these little battles. You just be there for them, and you'll be winning, bro. You're doing everything right, that as far as I can hear, and I'm confident you'll win.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's all I got.
Okay, Queen, let the next caller in. Thank you, brother, for coming in and calling in to Wake Up African People, and we hope that you visit with us again.
Okay. Are we going to let Sister Erin in?
No, she said,
Not yet.
I think she got sleepy or something, so go ahead and let the next caller in.
Okay. Let's see here. The caller with area code 267474. You are on the air. Okay. Caller with area code 203952. You are on the air. Please state your name, and you are welcome to any questions or comments.
My name is Angela. They call me Panther. And just want to say hi to everyone. Good evening. The question I have, I'm wondering if everyone heard about what happened in Harlem recently. Them charging into the 2 housing projects and 400 cops coming in armed gear, guns pointed in grandmothers, grandfathers, baby faces. It's just, I don't know, it just seems to me like things are really getting outrageous. I mean, they've always have been outrageous, but, I just, it's not that I don't expect this from them. I do expect that from them, but what I'm kind of scared of is the lack of us not pushing back and fighting, and it terrifies me. I was just wondering how you feel about that.
Yes, well, before the Irritated Genie says what he's going to say about this, it's like you said, it's not what they do, is what we don't do to repel these enemies in the black community. The black people, I just posted today on the internet, on Facebook, on my page, and y'all can, everybody that's listening that wants some raw, provocative truth, you can join me on Facebook, Akbar Ralston on Facebook, and you can join Sister Aset Isis on Facebook. And we also have a group for black people who want to meet and fall in love called Conscious Connect, and it has over 12,000 people in the group. And come join the group and find your conscious soulmate. It's a lot of beautiful conscious sisters and brothers in the group, and it's the place to be if you're on Facebook. And my sister, is another thing in New York that happened that we looked past, and it was when they put martial law on that neighborhood after they shot that brother, the young brother down there. And we let that pass. We let everything pass. That's the problem. black people are totally traumatized from white supremacy. There's no other way to explain why we don't stand together like we used to. I mean, it's not long ago. I just did a show, and everybody should tune in about a couple of weeks ago called The Philadelphia Negro, and another show, The Punkification of the Black Activists. Go into Wake Up African People and check out them shows, some provocative information on why our people are scared and shaking in their boots from white supremacy. Most Negroes today cannot even look the white man in the eyes. They're looking at their boots because they're scared that they're going to lose their jobs and everything else. If we'd have followed what Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey said, we would not be in this mess. But the Jews, like the brother says, the small hats, the people that's behind the scene, and I'm going to ask them about these small hats before someone else comes on. Brother, the protocol of the elders of Zion and the small hats, can you explain that to the people?
Yeah, if I could answer her question, I definitely would like to answer that. My sister asked a question, and she said, she talked about the raid in Harlem and what's going on. This is one of the things that I would say. One of the problems we have is that in our leadership, that we call our leadership, they were selected by outside forces and not selected by our own people. They weren't picked based on the fact that we followed them. They were given to us. They were given to us by our enemies because these are the individuals that prevent us from responding. My point being, there are people like myself who, if you expose me and our work to these young brothers in that housing project, we could stop the gangs from killing each other. If people could get us to Chicago, we could have a serious impact on stopping that. However, the Uncle Toms and the cowards are in positions to keep the serious black people who could organize our people and prevent some of the self-destructive things that are happening in our community from happening. So they keep us from having access to our people who need what we have, like more than they need water. And that results in not only us doing so much damage and rape and brutality towards one another, but then when the whites come in on top of it and do brutality, we have no response because we have no mind and no collective comprehension with the people who would fight of what to do. So the people who are the mind and then the brothers and sisters that are the body are disconnected, and it's the Uncle Toms that work with the whites to keep us away from one another that keep our community in that condition. And what I would say is, it's the responsibility not of the people out here like myself and others that are doing this work to get to our people. And it's not our people's responsibility to get to us. Our responsibility of those people who have the community centers, who have access to facilities, who have the facilities, to bring the two of us together, our people and those of us who can teach our people to do the right thing, together. And it's those positions that the Uncle Toms rule and the homosexuals rule and the pedophiles rule, which creates the situation where the sister's talking about where there's no response when it happens. So that's a major situation we got to deal with. As it relates to your question, it ties perfectly in. Because the question would then be, who is it that orchestrates the process of removing the African mind from black people and disestablishing the connection between the brothers and sisters who have the information that our people need to make good decisions and our people? Who orchestrates a system of racism and white supremacy? Who runs New York now from top to bottom? The small hats, the white so-called Jews, who are the most organized interest group on planet Earth. And one of the things that they have understood, and the brother was talking about something they call the protocols to the learned elders of Zion. They've understood that if they can be more organized than everyone else, and they can prevent black people from being self-determining and organized, then they can make us a helpless beggar class. And then they can use the fact that we're in the status of beggars as justification to tell whites that they should be racist against us, which they don't really need much of a justification. And they can keep the white Anglo-Saxon and the black race fighting amongst one another while they rob both groups. Now, don't misunderstand me. This is their brother. That Anglo-Saxon and the small hat are brothers. But the small hats don't look at it like that. They look at it like the white Anglo-Saxons are just fodder like anything else, which means if we want to actually change our condition, one of the first things we have to do is have a sophistication to understand. The people that understand what needs to happen and are not cowards and are not picked and are not controlled by our enemies have to be put in front of the masses of our people so that they hear the right stuff so they can do the right thing. But in order to do that, we have to break the economic tie in the hand that is controlling the Uncle Tom leadership and putting them in place in the black community, which is the white so-called Jew, so-called small hat. And for people who just, all whites are the same, if you say that and you don't understand, then you're not going to have the sophistication in warfare. Yeah, you understand that whites are all our enemies. You got that part down, but you don't understand on a practical level when we talk about tactically, how are we going to get ourselves out of this situation? We have to engineer it from the top, because if we don't stop the small hats, the white so-called Jews, from controlling the financial interests of the black community and constantly pitting us against dumb, ineffective rednecks in constant battles and fights that have no benefit in the end, and if we can't move them out of the way and take control of our own destiny, then we're going to continue to be running in a circle, fighting with ourselves, fighting with others, and letting them draw the paradigms under which we operate. These are the most sophisticated whites on the planet. They're the richest, they're the smartest, and they're the most calculating. And they are the ones who decide that homosexuality is going to be rampant in the black community, that genocide is going to be rampant, that gangs are going to be murdering each other, and that then they're going to swarm in with police and take these strong brothers who are willing to fight and shoot and kill before we get to them and tell them we're to point them guns, then mass incarcerate all of them. So they're the ones driving the system, and our focus in terms of the modus operandi of how we're going to, from the top down, change the dynamic between black and white starts with us understanding we have to chop the arm off the evil puppet master that's controlling the affairs of the black community, and that's the small hat, the white so-called Jew.
Well, Irritated Genie, we have a lot of callers in SKU, and we got to let some of them in. I wanted to ask some more questions myself, but I want to give the callers a chance to come in to talk to you. So, Sister Aset, let them in.
Okay.
We're going to try to let one right after the other. Tell them to go as fast as they can.
I don't know if we have as many as we think. I'm going to check. Caller with area code 240-595. You're on the air. Did you have any questions or comments?
I just had a comment.
Okay.
Hey, Irritated G, I just want to thank you for all that you do, and I really appreciate all that. I've been learning from you for the past 2 years, so keep it up, and I'm behind you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Okay. Caller with area code 203668. You're on the air. Caller with area code 203668.
Oh, praise not Turner, glory to Garvey, and long live Khalid Abdul Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This brother born up here in New Haven. I was just listening in, listening, getting some good information, quality information. I support the Irritated Genie 110%. The reality is that there's very few brothers out here who are really strong against this homosexual assault that we're having on our community. And with his, he's like when the last light, and when he's a guiding light. So I appreciate the show having him on. And, I'm just, like I said, I'm just tuned in, listening, and because he is one of the last fighting, one of the last hopes that we got against this white sex assault. So, I just want to thank the brothers for being on, and thank family for letting them come on. Spread that message, straight pride.
All right.
Yes, we are honored to have him on Wake Up African People. We will have more guests lined up. Dr. Umar Johnson is going to be coming back to visit us. We're going to call Dr. Phil Valentine, and we're waiting for various other people to come in. But one of the most provocative people that I have coming on Thursday night is a brother who was reared up by Malcolm X. He's like his prodigal son. He has never interviewed before. It was a lot of people that were scared because of the FOIs back in the day in the Nation of Islam, who advocated the white man was the devil, but then they went back and killed only black people. The brother's name is Brother Kingsley X. He's an elder. He's 70 years old, and we have to bleed these elders for this information before they pass on to the ancestor realm. Sister, do we have any more callers?
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead and let them in.
Is Brother Kumar coming back? Kumar?
I don't know, Brother Kumar.
Okay.
He's actually working when he came in to give us his knowledge. So whenever he pops in, he'll be on. Mm-hmm.
All right. Call with area code 757-618. You have any questions or comments? Okay. We lost that caller. Caller with area code 480-316. Did you have any questions or comments? Okay. Caller with area code 516-362. Did you have any questions or comments? Caller with area code 516-362.
Okay. All right. Okay, Irritated Genie.
Go ahead.
Yes. Are you familiar with Dr. Walter Williams' work?
Yes.
And what would you say about his work, his scholarship on Serapis and all that? He's him saying that the Jews, that Christianity, which I do know, in its infant form, predated what we call today Judaism. That it was written later by the scribes, the Jews, because they ran the press. Actually, they were the most educated Europeans. That's how they got power. What would you say about that?
That particular book is, in my opinion, one of the most direct and simplest and useful books on the history of Christianity and Serapis and Jesus on the market. It's designed for a person who already has some idea that something's not right about the story that they're getting about Christianity. I think it's an excellent book because he simplifies it. He makes it very easy to understand. And really it was the basis for the history part that we did in our lecture, from the plantation to the pulpit. Again, if you go to warnerhorizon.com, go to our store, you can get the lecture from the plantation from the pulpit. You'll see that it was Walter Williams' book that we used as the foundation for that presentation because it's just such an excellent resource.
Mm-hmm. I think that he is one of the scholars today that's very, very overlooked. And it's one thing I can say about Dr. Ray Higgins. Dr. Ray Higgins actually brought him on. I mean, I don't agree with him and the beef of Ashwa Kwesi, and I've talked to Ashwa Kwesi personally myself, and it really was a lot of confusion. But Ashwa never came out to say anything, but Dr. Ray was very, very gracious of him to bring that brother on and on his and expose him to the people that he influences. I think he said that the hieroglyphics was never deciphered, and I do see that myself, because how can you decipher the hieroglyphics when you don't have the vowel sounds and know what the sounds sound like? What is your opinion on that?
And I'll say it like this: I'm not an expert on the meta-netter, so pretty much because I studied under Baba Kwesi, I pretty much believe Brother Kwesi and follow his lead in his interpretation that he makes of the things on the temples, because he's been going there as long as anyone, and a lot of the things, what I've found is studying it for years, I didn't realize this, but the Europeans actually follow Dr. Ben and Brother Kwesi. People don't realize this. Because I used to watch these documentaries on History Channel back in the 90s. And then when I ran into Brother Kwesi and watched his stuff, I started realizing after like about 10 years, Brother Kwesi would come out something one year, and then 3 years later, a history special would come out on it. And because I was so familiar with Brother Kwesi's work and had been watching the stuff, they said, oh, this is a new found, this, that, and the other, a new interpretation, and it would mirror exactly what Baba was saying. So I said, wow, these white folks are actually buying his DVDs, studying them, and then they do specials on them about the history of Kemet, following his lead in scholarship. So that's what I would say as it relates to that. I do want to mention something since you brought it up. As it relates to Ray Hagins, I think it's important for this discussion since we're talking about white sex. This Saturday that just passed, and I was in St. Louis, he invited an individual named Carlton Pearson to be the keynote speaker at the African Village. This individual not only supports homosexuality, he left his big-time church in order to promote homosexuality. And when in an interview on CNN, he sat before the white female, and she said, what if it comes out true that Eddie Long is a homosexual and those accusations are true? He said, then I would love Eddie Long. I would put my arms around him. He's a prince of a man. He's a prince of a preacher, and we'll do him right. Meaning he totally supports Eddie Long, even though Eddie Long is molesting little boys. This same preacher that is promoting homosexuality as his platform is promoting integration with whites. He literally says that he's promoting integration with whites, and if you go to his website, he has whites on his site promoting integration. There's nothing hidden about it. Ray Hagins had him. You can go to Ustream and watch it. And nobody can say Ray Hagins didn't know, because we made Ray Hagins aware of it and said you cannot bring this promosexual into the midst of African Village and still you call yourself an African Village. He said, I'm bringing him in. I agree with his message. He's trying to reach everybody, including homosexuals and whites, and I agree with what he's saying, and I support him in what he's doing. And he did it, and it's on Ustream. You can watch it. You can even watch it. Ray Hagins introduces him and says that he works for the Human Rights Campaign, which goal was to promote LGBT rights. He introduces him that way and lets him speak there and brings, and there were homosexuals and white folks in this environment. And so now we see these individuals calling themselves leaders, inviting homosexuality into Pan-Africanism.
Well, I heard about that, and I was very critical of it myself, but, you know, it's a lot of people who was Christians that Ray Hagins kind of, woke up. And, I really don't agree with the way he delivers the message of Kemet, because we didn't do that Christianity preacher thing. And, but, I can't really I try to not really, because a couple of the people that's in my cipher learn from him, and I've tried to tell them over and over again that they were already woke. I mean, but they just needed a spark, because this thing, you have to be really born with this thing here, and you have to be very brave to be a black nationalist and speak and do what we do. And a lot of people don't understand the stress that's on us from our people not listening and our people not seeing. And it's a lot of people now, that I personally, that's in my cipher now, that came up through Ray Hagins. And I didn't like the way it went down with him and Baba Kwesi, because Baba Kwesi is a personal friend of mine, and I never heard him come out in public and say anything about, the brother. I talked to him personally about the brother and found out what happened and why they had the disagreement and everything. And, I just hope the brother changed his ways, because he could be very valuable to the community if he changed his ways and think straight before he do anything, because that homosexual thing is one of the most wretched things that there is to me for a black person to do. Other than
I would have to say this,
other than just white supremacy.
I appreciate I appreciate you being the kind of brother that's reasonable and don't jump to sides. But I got to say this. When it was just the other stuff that he was doing that I could see through the whole thing, that's one thing. This is different. The major assault on African people today, the thing that they're spending billions of dollars to push, is the homosexualization and the disgendering of the black race. For Ray Higgins to call himself a Pan-African and to have an onk on the front of his thing and to invite somebody that defends and supports a pedophile who is and does it openly, Eddie Long, in pedophilia. It's not like he supported him on the side. He supported him when they asked him, what about this situation? And he said, I support him, which means he supports pedophilia, whose open platform is, I left the church because I want to bring homosexuals. The homosexuals are gifts from God. He wants to bring them into the church and want to bring homosexuality to the church. For him to bring somebody like that to our people is not good enough to give him a pass. Because what that means is every little boy that turns to homosexuality and thinks that he's doing it under the red, black, and green, thinks that means he can be a Pan-Africanist and be a homosexual at the same time. Everybody who gets introduced to this, because we take them to Higgins, and then Higgins takes them to this Pearson, who is a homosexual advocate and a pedophile advocate, we are partly responsible for the molestation that occurs. This is one that ain't no passes on, because this is the war that we fighting today. It ain't like it's not like the Christian thing or the preaching thing.
I don't think we should give them no pass. So I'm telling people now, be careful of this guy. I've always been saying it. My hostess knows. I've been telling her for a long time. I've been telling my other hostess, Sister Desiree, that this guy's some type of agent. But, I try to not, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but, this thing is too important. Like you said, he is contributing to the feminization of the young black male. And I want to also talk about this other brother. I used to really like him before I seen him running with this Reverend Danny, Sister Sekhmet, whatever she is. I don't even like to call her Sekhmet with her white behind. Yeah, what is his doggone? I done forgot his damn Booker T. Coleman.
Booker T. Coleman. Hello?
Yeah. What about Booker T. Coleman?
Okay. Let me break it down so people can understand. Again, none of these things are personal. We're trying to save our race.
Yes.
Booker T. Coleman is somebody up in New York who presents himself again as pro-black, Pan-African, whatever the case may be. Didn't know much about him. Went to the wedding of one of my good friends that was in New York, and my wife said, who is that white chick that he's with? I debated her because I said, nah, I've heard about this dude before. He can't be with somebody white. She's got to be like Hispanic or something. So my wife told me I was crazy, but I said, no, I think she's Hispanic. So long story short, very recently, somebody sent us more information, and what we found out is that this white female who's going around is named Reverend Danny. It's this white female that, like you said, is calling herself Sekhmet or something or another. But what's deep about this thing is, when we researched her, she has a 2-hour documentary promoting homosexuality. I mean, this thing she participated in this thing, and it's got cartoons where the cartoons are telling children that homosexuality is okay, and she has a platform for promoting homosexuality, and her quote-unquote mentor is this dude that he looked more gay than Carlton Pearson. His name is Michael Beckwith. He was the guy on Oprah Winfrey who said, homosexuality is a gift from God, and we should love homosexuals because God made them this way and wants them to be this way, and that they have, stuff to offer just the way they are. So basically, he's completely pro-homosexual. She is not just saying that she's pro-gay. She's out here on the forefront making documentaries or participating in documentaries to promote homosexuality. And Booker T. Coleman is running around New York with her, and when questioned about it, he starts chastising the black community. Then he gets up in front of the black community, and a Jamaican brother, raised his hand and said, look, what are we going to do about all this homosexuality coming around? In front of all these Pan-Africans, Booker T. Coleman says, we have to stop being so homophobic. And he goes on a 20-minute rant talking about how he knows people in this movement who are gay, who won't tell anybody else that they're gay, but they tell him, and that we got to stop being so homophobic, which the problem is, you now telling us that you know that we got individuals that we're taking our children to go listen to, and might even be sending our children to go study with them or whatever the case may be, and teaching them our leaders. And these guys and women are really homosexuals, which means in the middle of this homosexual war we're facing, you know who the homosexuals are, and you're allowing those homosexuals to teach our people and be in front of our people, and you won't tell us who they are, and you telling us to accept this stuff so that they could then come out as Pan-Africans. Unacceptable. This guy is dangerous. He's a promosexual. That means that people that promote homosexuality but don't necessarily admit that they're homosexuals themselves, but definitely promote it. He's a dangerous individual, and what we have found, we have now this information is like in the last 3 weeks, stuff has been coming out. There is an organized effort, and it's not that I'm making up, brothers and sisters. We just found out, I can't even tell you how we found out because I would give too much information away, but we found out that there are a bunch of homosexuals and promosexuals who have come together and organized to prevent any of us who are speaking against homosexuality from getting an opportunity to come into any cities. I mean, literally, and they're coming together, creating a collective now, and going through and trying to attach themselves to heterosexuals who are in the movement, who are prominent, to get them to give leniency to homosexuality. So like a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are serious, they don't know that the brothers and sisters that are supporting them are homosexuals. But, of course, you know how homosexuals do it. They don't tell them definitively to promote homosexuality because they know they won't do it. They just start telling them to be softer on it. So there's an organized effort to push homosexuality in the Pan-African movement, and they're using heterosexual brothers and sisters to do it.
Yeah, well, I've seen some videos on homosexuals talking about they were the gatekeepers. I mean, I couldn't really even look at that video. I mean, but I forced myself to go into it to the point to where I had to turn it off because I almost smashed my computer. Talking about the homosexual, the Dogon priest, the homosexual, that the two twins in Egypt and Kemet, and they're just embracing each other. They try to push them off as homosexuals. They trying to find all kinds of ways, but my op was built on the phallic and the yoni. You know what I'm saying? That you have to have them to procreate, how Osiris procreated with, Isis, Aset. But this is one thing I want to lay across you about Ray Hagins before we go too far past him. Now, yes, Ray Hagins is a psychologist like Dr. Omar. And Dr. Umar feel as though he can treat the homosexual. Do you think that Ray Hagins might, in his mind, feel as though he may want to draw homosexuals close to him so he can try to treat him? Because I heard he was a clinical psychologist as well. What do you think about that?
I know that's not the case because Ray Hagins' objective, I had people that went there, so they told me what happened. We've been watching this guy. His objective is the very opposite. His objective is, you got to understand, this is how you make money. When the European has a major offensive that he's launching, he gets black people to do it. Well, how does he get them to do it? He pays them. So if you don't pay them directly, he pays them through benefits. So, for instance, Carlton Pearson is a big-time preacher. He's not a little guy. He's big enough that he could leave his own church and now go on a mission to promote homosexuality. He's been all over CNN. He's in the major venues. So what he is doing is now the payoff for Ray Hagins is that you'll get access to a person like Carlton Pearson who has access to thousands and thousands of people. And now, if you will open up homosexuality to the Pan-African community, the payoff is that if there's not money under the table, you will get access to large numbers of people, and you'll be in. You'll be one of our boys. You'll be on the in crowd. So Ray Hagins has no interest in trying to cure nobody with nothing. I mean, you remember, in 2005, Ray Hagins was on the Michael Bazin After Dark show, doing a program about pornography, talking about pornography is healthy. Now, I'm not out here to be anybody's judge or whatever the case may be, but you're no Pan-African anywhere in the world telling black people that pornography is healthy. Because in order for pornography to exist, some woman, particularly a black woman, has to feel so degraded about herself that she would get naked and have sex in public and degrade herself to that position instead of the privacy of her home. So just that alone makes pornography something that's not healthy for a black person to be watching, because we don't want to see our people in any of that kind of degraded state. And then if you talk about, well, I just only want to watch whites. Well, now why are you wanting to watch white folks have sex? Now you getting into the freaky stuff too. Ain't nothing African about that. There's no way a guy could do that. We're talking about an individual who has no character, no commitment to African principles. He'll do anything and say anything to make money and to be popular, even including trying to knock off some of the most well-respected Pan-Africans in the black community, asking people not to support these people who take our people back to Africa every year and been doing it for 30 years. How would you even ask somebody to do something like that? This is a dangerous character, and as black people in the Pan-African community, we got to start being more serious. It's like, look, just because we had a friendship with somebody, and look, I'm going to be honest with you, I've been through this. Dr. Naeem Akbar, when I was 14 years old, I read his book, Change the Image of Life, Psychological Slavery, and this is how I can describe it. It was dynamite to my African mind. I was like, this is the most brilliant man to ever live. I love that man. I wrote him a letter. This brother wrote me back. I can't tell you how difficult it was when I became an adult and found out that he was a homosexual and that he had been
I was getting ready to mention that. You must be dealing with a crystal ball over there, Irritated Genie. I was getting ready to ask you about the controversy, and I think they named Anthony T. Broder and him together.
Well, see, I never said anything about that. I just brought it up. Tony Broder is another one of these brothers out here that our people are falling in love with who ain't quite right. I'm going to say it like that. And these things are a problem because it's not just like these freaks are out there doing their freak thing on the side. These individuals are coming before our people and look, I want y'all to watch Hidden Colors 2. Watch Hidden Colors 2 again.
I've seen it.
Okay. Do you remember James Smalls talking about our white brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Do you remember him saying the Greeks are our cousins? We know we cousins.
I might have missed that part.
Yeah,
I gotta go deep in that, because I'm like this. When they are connected to the academic world of the Caucasians, they are liable to sell out. Remember, I think it's was it Carruthers? What was that light-skinned brother that died, and before he died, he was buried in a Christian church, and he knew all about Kemet and all that stuff. Light-skinned brother.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was. He had a wife too. Him and his wife both were scholars. They was in the college thing. I don't know if it was Jake Carruthers or not. It was I can't call his name, so I don't want to bring that. Let me retract on that. But it was a brother who knew about Kemet a lot. I had a video of him, and the way he went out is like he stepped back into Christianity before he went out. And, it's a lot of these guys that's connected to these colleges and stuff. We can't really trust them. I mean, the Dr. Benz and all of them, they sacrificed and they were basically broken, from, and cast away from the academic world. But now their work is really taking off. Like you said, they're making tapes and all kinds of stuff. They got this white boy that wrote the Black Genesis, and you got this other white boy that runs around, Graham Hancock, with a black wife from Ethiopia, taking pictures all around the world and stuff, and they're starting to say there's black people here and black people there. But no, they start to feed it off the work from Godfrey Higgins and Church Ward and all of them back in the day that was not that biased on the truth. And I tell a lot of people the book to read is Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. If you read that book, you will have a whole different perspective on the evolution of the human race, and how religion itself evolved. The white boy, Church Ward, did a hell of a work on that book. And it's like, we as a people really have to start exposing these coons and stuff out here, because I do it all the time here on Wake Up African People. And I try to be very biased with the Hagen's thing. I tried not to really come out on him or anything, but the homosexual thing just cannot be forgiven, because this, to me, this anti-life movement is one of the worst things happening in our community. A lot of people on Facebook, they fight against me about the homo thing, not as much as they used to when I started coming out, and the brother named Olatunji Mwabi, another brother, every time I get on there and I fight this homo thing and put out information about homosexuals, and knowing that up until 1972 they were considered mentally insane until they got political power. They got political power, and they got inside there, and they started pushing all their agendas. Their main agenda for pushing homosexual marriage was to bring the boy sex thing. Now this AGAP love, this boy sex thing is really one of the biggest focuses they have, because even in the Islamic world, the homosexual thing is out of control. They have this website called alfatiha.org, and it's nothing but gay, homosexual, Muslim stuff. And I remember I was incarcerated, and I was a younger man back then, and I read a book, a Quran, that was talking about the people after they die in the way of Allah and jihad. They was promised 72 virgins and 32 pubescent boys in paradise. But they said that Muhammad was trying to appease the homosexuals. This thing has been going on for a very long time. They have never stopped.
Stop. Okay. I knew about the 72 black-eyed daughters of Ethiopia, but wait a minute. Run that last part by me again. I never heard that. I need to hear that again.
Yes, it's a Quran that's out, and it says that in Jannah they will get 72 pubescent girls and 32 pubescent boys for a reward. You know what I'm saying? And this is what it says. You can Google it. It's all information's on my page. You need to go on my page and friend me too, Akbar Ralston at Facebook. I have all this information down. And I remember when I was in jail, when they gave me I had to throw the book down. I was like, because I was into Islam. Because I came through the Nation of Islam, and then through the Bilalian Muslims, and then to the Sunni Muslims, and then after that, I was already Afrocentric, but the Muslims couldn't stand me because I was pro-black. I just never really could get with the Arab stuff and the white Muslims from my Nation of Islam training.
You got me. Show me where I can find that on your Facebook. Matter of fact, if you could do me a favor.
I will send you the information about the 72 people's boys and everything. I'll send you the information. Just when you get out, send me your, if you're on Facebook, just friend me so I can send it that way, because I've been having problems with my email accounts.
Okay.
I think they got me hacked and stuff. So,
we sent you a friend request. You got to send me that, brother, to see.
Yeah, I send you that. I post about that all the time, man. I mean, I go hard on them, on the Islamic stuff, man. That's nothing but, like the brother Walter Williams says, Muhammad never existed. It was a dude called Mehmet. He was a Jew, and he's an Arab Jew, and he go all throughout the world. He had a lot of adventures, and he wrote that story on him. And they really actually used Akhenaten's story, about the one guy when Akhenaten got rid of the pantheon and brought in the Aten and all that stuff. All the Abraham story, the Moses story, everyone that crushed the gods and crushed the statues and stuff got that from the Akhenaten story, when he had to shut down the pantheon because the priest of the temple of Amun got corrupt, and they was almost as powerful as the pharaoh himself, and he had to shut them down because it was a scheduled shutdown anyway, because they had to build the new city to align it with the stars, because that's how our people worked. Whenever a new star or a new celestial event was about to happen, they already knew it in advance, and they were going to build a temple in that area. That's why all these temples spread all out around the world are all lined up with different stars in different phases of the stars and stuff. So our people know what was going to happen because they can read the stars. They knew what was going to happen before. That's why Hermes wrote his prophecy and spoke about all this stuff we're going through right now today, the chaos and stuff. So people need to start learning and breaking down this stuff that our ancestors left to us so they can be aware that they already knew this stuff was going to happen. They prepared us for it. They told us how to live by Ma'at. and how to get up out of this world when you leave this body. You know, because I don't want to come back into existence no more. I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm trying to come back to save these people. But like Irritated Genie, I thank you for coming on our show tonight. And that Booker T. Coleman guy, man, he really pissed me off. And the Tony Broder guy, I knew about that for years. And I even Minister Farrakhan, which is a coon as far as I'm concerned. You know, I don't know what your opinion on him is, but that Scientology stuff is, you can't get a pass on taking these people straight to the white man.
Well,
you know,
let me just say this, and we can wrap up. As it relates to Minister Farrakhan and what we're talking about is homosexual assault, there's an individual named Cleo Monago who's getting millions of dollars from the federal government to teach and promote homosexuality, not only to high school black high school students, but also organizing homosexuals to say that it's acceptable. He calls himself the Black Malcolm X. He wears red, black, and green, and he's using Pan-Africanism as a means to promote homosexuality. The Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan in particular, invited him to the Millions More March and gave him a platform to promote, quote-unquote, same gender-loving information. So if you go to YouTube and put in Cleo, C-L-E-O, and his last name Monago, M-A-N-A-G-O, at Millions More March, not the Million Man March, but the Millions More March in 2005, it will come up and you will see him up there on the stage with all the FOI talking about he thanks Minister Farrakhan for inviting him so he can promote same gender loving. So
that's crazy. That's crazy, brother. I wouldn't be surprised if you seen a red, black, and green and doggone rainbow flag mixed together soon. And that's when I'm going to go buck wild. I'm already buck wild on that homo stuff. But this thing is totally out of control. They're doing it as if the sisters knew how mad this was because they're taking away your shield. Ain't no homosexual going to get out there and fight no war. And plus of all, nobody don't want them around them. You know, real man wants no man that's making googly eyes to him, around him. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy, man. And this homosexual thing, I do believe, is being chemically manipulated also. In the baby formulas and the meats and all that stuff they eat now, these fast food places and stuff. Because this stuff, like you said, it just exploded. Men went from I love you baby songs and serenading women to now Luther Vandross serenading men, talking about woo, 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 and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is insane, brother. And we have to fight against it. And I thank you, and I honor you with high honors to be bold and black enough to get out here and fight against this homo stuff. Because first of all, they try to label you as a hater and that you're a closet homo when you fight against it. And that's their what I call homosexual technology. They've been using for years to try to keep people silent. You know what I'm saying? Men anyway, but this homosexual rappers and all this stuff and the football players, they snuck in the pink on them with this heart thing, with this breast cancer thing. So they snuck the pink in on the football players. They got football players coming out talking about they gay, piling up on each other and all this type of madness. They got basketball players coming out because they gay. They got the so-called black president calling gay people. Not in the history of this country has a president called and welcomed a gay person and given them medals of honor and all that stuff. He even bring back Rustin, you know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King's gay advisor, and gave him a Medal of Award with his white lover next to him for being gay. Obama is gay, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right.
He's gay. Most of all these damn presidents is gay. They all had to join this gay thing where they lay him on the table and had to run up in him before they can, be president and stuff. So that's like they do with these rappers and stuff. It's a ritual they got to go to at the Bohemian Grove. So, this stuff is crazy. People just don't know the debauchery. They forgot about the Bush, the George Bush sex ring, boy sex ring, the George Bush Sr. I don't know about the son too much because he's an idiot. Was an idiot anyway. But George Bush Sr. was caught up in that sex ring in Washington, D.C. Our people forget things too quick. And it was a black man that was delivering the boys to him.
Yep, under the Reagan administration, it came out in the Washington Post, brothers and sisters, where they had boy prostitute ring in the White House. It was in the Washington Post.
Yeah. And our people forget too quick about these things. They don't read. Like they said, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book, a newspaper, anything. These Negroes need to wake up and start seeing these things in front of their eyes. You know what I'm saying? They had the sex ring down there, then they got that Levy case where they killed that girl. I mean, you know, it's crazy. I mean, I rode through Rock Creek Park because I remember the song when I was growing up, doing it in the park, doing it after dark, Rock Creek Park. We even changed the song to the name of the park around our way, Weekway Park. You know, so, you know, it's crazy, man. I mean, you know, people need to understand, and they don't understand the amount of research and reading and being aware that you have to do to even acquire this knowledge to be able to give it to our people. So we want the Wake Up African people hope that you come back to our show, and we really, 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 really support you in all your work. And we want people to know you go to the Irritated Genie's website, and you need to listen to this brother. This brother is nothing but the raw truth. The Truth Doctor endorses him. Wake Up African people endorses him. So we are winding down, and I have to get to my queen before she goes to sleep tonight. And we want to sign off, and we want you to just give your website again.
Okay, that's waronthehorizon.com.
You heard that straight from Irritated Genie. waronthehorizons.com.